Gone Fishing with Bob and TJ is brought to you by Ranger Boats, still building legends one at a time. Daiwa Rods and Reels, committed to total quality. Humminbird Wide, fish wide open. And Raider Fiberglass Truck Tops, today's value leader.
Hi, I'm Bob Kirkpatrick. Welcome to Gone Fishing. We're just about to leave La Ronge, Saskatchewan. We're on our way to Beaver Lodge fly-in camps. We've got about a 100-mile flight, and the pilots say it's a little rough, so we're all strapped in, ready to go. I've got a very special guest with me today, NHL hockey player Grant Jennings. We're going after summertime lake trout, so stay with us for a great northern experience. Oh, it feels like it's got a little bit of weight to it.
Right on.
We're at Beaver Lake Fly-In Lodge on the lower Foster Lakes, about 100 miles north La Ronge. Doubleheader?
Doubleheader.
All right. And we're jigging for lake trout.
You hit that right up top.
Oh, that's a nice one. Now, how are we going to do this? My guest today is professional athlete, NHL hockey player Grant Jennings. And looks like we're in for some great action here, Grant. Now, this is going to be fun, trying to net two of these. What we're doing, it's the middle of summer, and the lake trout are down deep. Oh, I got a nice one here. He just blew out a bunch of bubbles. I got this fish down in about 70 feet of water.
You want me to...
I think I can manage this one. I'll try and get this one out of the net and help you.
I got them all tangled up in the tail here.
And I got mine out. Looks like yours did some spinning there.
Yeah, I'm a little tangled up, but he's got some weight to him there.
Oh boy, is he ever tangled up. Lake trout got a habit of doing that. Once they get up near the surface, they'll just start spinning and spinning. You give me a little bit of slack line so I don't break your rod here. Oh, that's two nice chunky trout here.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, oh boy, how we...
It's like getting a couple of goals in 1 minute.
There's a couple of real nice trout from Foster Lake. Well, should we get these back? I'll get this one back in and give you a hand with that one.
Okay.
There, that
Yeah,
one
they
goes.
hit pretty close, right at the same time, eh?
One right after the other. Anyway, these hooks, you got them well hooked anyway. Trout have such a hard mouth that once they get a hook in there, it sticks in pretty good. Great.
Oh,
Now, is the line all wrapped up on there?
Yeah. Ready to go there. There he goes.
All right, there you go. Boy, those are a couple of nice trout, Grant.
Yeah,
Looks
for
like we
sure.
got the right baits on. Yours broke off in the net when we netted that one.
Yeah.
What we're using today, I think I mentioned this, is Reef Runner Cicada. It's a little bit different bait. It's kind of a blade bait, and creates a lot of vibration when it's jigged up and down the water. There's a lot of vibration, and a lot of times the trout will key in on that. Now what we're doing is we're letting our baits right down to the bottom. We're in 60 to 80 feet of water. Reel it up a couple feet. Give it 3 or 4 good pumps, and you can feel the vibration right up the line into the rod here. Give it 3 or 4 really good pumps, then start reeling it up to the top almost as fast as you can. And what happened on those two fish, both of them chased the bait up from the bottom and smacked it 7 or 8 feet below the surface. So they'll chase it a long ways.
Yeah, they sense that vibration, I think, pretty good down there, too, when it's that deep. There's a lot of flash on these things, too, down there where it's dark, so they're working well.
Well, you know, with the lake trout down that deep in the summertime, I don't know how well they see, but they do key in on vibration. They're chasing minnows and whatever they feed on at this time of year, and they'll stay deep. They need to be in that deep, cold water. Yeah. In the fall and in the spring, they'll get up in the shallows. Like right after the ice is out, a lot of times they're in the shallows. It's a lot of fun to catch them. You can cast right into the shore with spoons and stuff. And in the fall, they go up in the shallows once the temperature starts to cool down again, and that's the time of the year they spawn. Again, it's a lot of fun, but usually in the summertime, most people that fish lake trout are using downriggers or steel line, and that takes out a lot of the the fun of catching the fish. We're just using regular size line here, and
I think most people can afford a fishing hook more so than an electric downrigger and a big pole on the side of their boat. So, I mean, you can catch them either way.
Grant, you've won 2 Stanley Cups. That's got to be quite a thrill.
Yeah, winning the first one was quite a thrill. Winning the second one was more of a surprise, I think, than a thrill. But yeah, not many guys get to go through that. You know, there's still a lot of great players in the league that never won one. You know, like Ray Bork or a lot of all-stars that never got to go through that experience. So it is quite an experience. I'm sure you'd find those guys trading off you know, a personal achievement for a Stanley Cup any day.
Now you're known as more of a rugged defenseman than an offensive player, or a big goal scorer.
Yeah, I'm a defensive defenseman.
I got one on here.
Okay. Take care of my own end, and I'll let you take care of that fish.
Well, does that mean there's lots of penalty minutes in your game?
There's more penalty minutes than points, you could say, but you know, I like to keep the puck out of my own net for sure.
Well, as long as you're doing obviously you're doing your job.
Yeah, I've been in 10 years pro, so I must be doing something right. But
yeah, they need more than just goal scorers. This is a tough little fish. Whoa! They're burping up the air. We're catching these fish in quite deep water. Actually, that one didn't get hooked up real deep. We're fishing. I'm in 60 feet of water here, and he must have chased it up in the bottom. That sound you heard there was the air coming out of him. Now, trout are a little bit different than a lot of other species. There he goes. A lot of species, if you bring them out of deep water, their air bladder's all inflated and you can't release them. Like a walleye, for example. You bring a walleye out of deep water and it won't go back down, it'll just float. But trout are able to release that air on their own, and a lot of times when you're bringing them up from deep water, if you don't crank them up real fast, you'll see a whole bunch of air bubbles come out, and that's what they're doing. They're releasing that air out. So they're capable of coming out of 100 feet of water and then going right back down again. And if you were able to hear that one, it was kind of making a burping sound. Didn't have all the air out of it in the water, but you know, we've caught trout earlier that you can see the air bubbles coming up. Now, this is a little bit different situation than what we'd prefer. It's quite windy out here, and we're trying to fish as vertical as we can. And what I mean by that, we would like to have the line going straight down over the side of the boat. It's a lot easier to control what's going on. Give it 3 or 4 pumps and start reeling it up and hope those fish chase it up and hit it. With this wind blowing like this, it drifts us out of these spots. Like we're fishing some deep holes, and it goes from 40 feet down to 60 or 70 feet and right back up to 40 again. So it's hard to sit on a spot, and the only way we can do that right now is to back troll with the kicker motor. It means getting a little bit wet, but it's the only way we can stay on those fish.
Unless we brought 100 feet of anchor rope with us, it'd be better, but...
Well, anchor would be good. The bottom here is so rocky that I think we'd be snagging up the anchors and losing them, and we're moving from spot to spot. So we just got to contend with running the motor and getting a little bit wet, and taking our time here. But I see we've drifted off our spot. Let's go back over there and see what we can do.
Okay.
I know you finished off last season with Toronto. Now you're an unrestricted free agent. What exactly does that mean?
Unrestricted free agent is it's a special kind of free agent, because usually a team that tries to sign a free agent either has to give up another player, which is called compensation, or the team that you're leaving has a right to match. So in my case, there's no right to match and there's no compensation. So I'm still sitting around here waiting for a bite, you could say.
Well, that's a lot like fishing. You know, when we landed here, as soon as we stepped off the plane, there was a message for Grant to call back to your agent. Now, it's possible you may find out while we're up here who you're playing with next season.
Yeah, there's about 5 or 6 teams that are interested, and they all kind of play a cat and mouse game when it comes to free agents and signing draft picks. So, yeah, we might find out. We'll see in a couple days.
Well, we're not a long ways away from where you now make your summer home, just out of La Ronge. You just built yourself a beautiful new home there. How much time do you get to spend in that area?
Well, depending on how far we go in playoffs, but on the average I would get to spend maybe 2 months up north, and it's beautiful up here. I love coming up here, and I'm just glad I got a place. I'm lucky, I figure.
you obviously prefer fishing over golf like a lot of your fellow hockey players do.
Yeah, I golf a little bit, but I'd rather be sitting in a boat catching a walleye or a lake trout for sure.
You know, Grant, there's another one on. You know, it seems like I'm getting a lot more strikes than you are, and I think I might know the reason why. I'm using spider wire, and there's no stretch in spider wire, or next to no stretch compared to monofilament. Monofilament's got a lot of stretch to it. And we're fishing so deep, you know, 60, 80, 90 feet deep, and what we're doing is just ripping those jigs real hard, ripping those cicadas real hard to get a lot of action. And I think with the monofilament, we're getting too much stretch in there, and with the spider wire, any hit that we get, it's an immediate hook set, and it's just burrowing the hooks in the fish's mouth, and I don't think you're getting that with the monofilament. There's just too much stretch in there. So when we go back into camp, how about I spool you up a spool full of spider wire, and we'll see if that makes any difference.
Sounds good to me.
Here, that fish is burping. He's getting rid of some of that air. That fish was caught in 75 feet of water as well. The other nice thing about using the spider wire here is we're not using any leaders at all. It's tied, I've got a little wee snap on, and you need that when you're fishing with a cicada. You can't tie the line direct, it'll cut it, but just a little wee snap and no leader. So any hardware you can get rid of to help the hook act like it's supposed to makes quite a difference. There's a nice lake trout. Oh, I got another one on here. We thought we'd try moving around a little bit. Now, all the boats here are equipped with depth finders, and it really makes a difference. We're just moving along real slow, checking out the bottom, and the bottom depth changes considerably here. You can be in 20 feet 1 minute and 120 feet another minute. We're just going slow until we mark some fish on the locator, stop, try it for 5 or 6 minutes. If we don't catch anything, we'll move on. There's lots of places to fish. We've marked lots of fish on our way out here, so we're just kind of making our way back to camp and trying out some of these spots on the way. Oh, there's a nice fish. He's all wrapped up too. Now this fish is a little bit different than some of the other ones we caught. He hit the cicada as I was dropping it down. I knew I was in 110 feet of water, and I was only about halfway down. All of a sudden the line went slack. Pulled it, nothing. Luckily he held on good. I give it a couple more cranks and set the hook in him. So they can be spread out any depth, right from the surface all the way to the bottom. That's why we have to work that whole area. Now, Grant, this one doesn't feel that big. There he is.
Want me to net her? I better help you.
Sure. Okay. You know, Elaine promised to cook us up a couple of these, and this is the perfect size for eating. I like to let those big ones get away. You know, lake trout doesn't grow very fast in these cold waters.
The bigger ones are going to spawn a little more too, I think.
Well, the smaller ones are a lot better eating, and this looks like the perfect size to eat. Let's, boy, when they take those cicadas, they take them hard, don't they?
Yeah, he's hooked pretty good there, upper lip.
Well, why don't we throw that one in the bucket, and we'll cook it up for shoreline. Thank you very much, Elaine. That looks great.
You're quite welcome. I hope you enjoy it.
I'm here with Wellis Johnson, who, along with his wife Elaine, are the owners of Beaver Lodge Fly-In. Wellis, how long have you been here at the lodge?
This is our 9th year. We come here on May the 23rd in 1987. Originally this was built by Jacques Cousteau and his team, and they were doing a documentary on the beavers of northern Saskatchewan. And they were here in 1973 and 74. In total, they were here 11 months altogether.
The part that you use as the main lodge in your living quarters, that was built by Jacques Cousteau and his crew?
That's right. They built that, and that was their main headquarters when they were here. And they had 2 beavers that lived with them over winter right in the main lodge. And then the crew stayed in the main lodge. And the only other building that was here was a little tool shed. Since we come here, we've built 3 new cabins and generator house and little tool shed and wood shed, and put in sewer and water and made it fairly up to date.
Well, you have a very beautiful camp here. Now, there's a little history with the Jacques Cousteau and the beavers thing. Inside the cabin, you can still see where the beavers had chewed against some of the door frames, and they had a few unique things about the cabin set up for these beavers.
Yes, they made a little cage for them just below the lodge, and then they had a little doorway where they could go through the floor, and a little stairway where they could go down outside into this little cage, and if they got cold, they'd come back up inside the lodge, and they fed them apples inside the lodge. That's their main diet for the winter, was apples. They survived all winter, and they're real nice.
Well, we found it's pretty easy to survive here too. Your wife Elaine is a tremendous cook, and both of you are terrific hosts. Now, we've had several opportunities to sample her cooking and her baking, and it's amazing. That alone, as well as the fishing, will bring people back here several times, I'm sure.
Yeah, we've had quite a few comments on her cooking, and she is a good cook. I weighed 135 pounds when I married her. Just have a look at me now.
Boy, this wind has really picked up. It's made it difficult to hold in a spot here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been a while since we had a good one, and this wind is making it tough.
Oh, might come out there. Now, we switched both lines to spider wire, and like I was saying earlier, you can get a lot more action on that cicada down in the 60, 70 feet, but it's hard to hold with the wind like this. We're having trouble with it. So just back trolling into the wind, getting a little bit wet, and Grant, looks like he's hooked into a good fish here.
We'll see.
Oh, that's a nice one. Whoa! Look at him roll on top of the water.
Again.
Again. Okay, just kind of bring it straight up there. Well, that's a nice trout. Oh, there. Wow, that's one of the better ones yet.
Yeah, he looks pretty good.
You've got him well hooked. Look, he slashed out at that and got caught underneath the chin. Well, this fish looks like he was maybe hooked in the gills. He's got both hooks in him. He really slashed out at it. And he's bleeding pretty bad. I think we're going to have to keep this one. But
yeah.
Hey, that's a nice trout.
That'll do.
Well, let's see if we can get back over that spot and get a few more before this wind gets too big and we have to get off the water.
Yeah, that'd be nice. There we go.
Another one.
Yeah.
Boy, that seemed to make quite a difference. You've been just wailing on them since you changed lines there. I'll get in and get the net. This wind isn't dying down at all, of course.
No.
You know,
So windy.
fishing's really been good up here, but the hospitality we've had at Beaver Lake Lodge has just been fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah. Wellis and Elaine, they put on a great spread for us for food every day, every meal, and
Oh, the cabins are
cabins
beautiful.
are beautiful, and the scenery is unbelievable. It's quite a spot up here.
Nice trout. Oh,
Hey.
Hey, with fishing like this and the accommodations like we got, I would highly recommend coming up here. It's a great spot, you get treated terrifically, and it's lots of fun. Well, get him back right away.
Yeah.
Now, the equipment I was using today consisted of a 7.5-foot fairly stiff bait caster rod and reel combination. And the reason I used a long stiff rod like that, it would help me give the kind of action on the lure I was using. We also used spider wire today. Now, spider wire doesn't have near the stretch that monofilament does, and again, that helped give the action that we required on the lure. Now, the hook I was using today was a Reef Runner Cicada. Now, this is a 3/4 ounce model, and it seemed to work really good for these lake trout. And what a cicada is, it's a type of blade bait that when you work it off the bottom really hard, it vibrates, sends out a lot of vibrations, and it attracts the fish. You must use a cross-lock snap or a round nose snap with a cicada. You can't tie the line on direct, it will cut. There's one small hole in the top of the cicada. You hook the clip through. Use as little hardware as you can. Don't use a swivel with this, just a snap is fine. And that's all you need. Now, how we fish this, we let the cicada down to the bottom, reeled it up a couple of feet, and then quite violently ripped the cicada up and down 3 or 4 times, and then reeled the lure up as fast as we could. A lot of times these trout hit on the way up. Well, it's been great having Grant Jennings as a guest, and I've got another very special guest with me today, my dad, Chuck Kirkpatrick. Now, you got a nice fish on there, Dad?
I have so.
Get him here. Oh, he's all wrapped up. Nice little lake trout.
Yeah,
Now, this is your first experience at a fly-in fishing trip.
it is so. I'm enjoying every minute of it.
We picked a great place to come to, and I know this is something that I'll definitely remember for the rest of my life, having you along on a trip like this. I know I've tried to get you up several other times, and I'm glad you finally decided to come along. We sure had a good few days here.
I've enjoyed it very much.
Boy, this guy's really wrapped up, but I think we're getting it here.
Yeah, I used to hang with on. Now you're getting them.
Right there.
Great.
Wow, that's a nice little lake trout. Why don't we take that
Sure
one
is.
home for Mom?
Well, I'd love to. We'll enjoy that one in the pan. Great.
Boy, we sure had a great time here at Beaver Lodge Fly-In. Sure like to thank our hosts, Wellis and Elaine Johnson. They've been just fantastic. And their hospitality and accommodations are second to none. I'd highly recommend it for anybody to come up here. I'd also like to thank Grant Jennings, NHL hockey player. He's been a lot of fun to be with. We talked a lot about hockey out in the boat. He's also a pretty good fisherman. And it's been a real special treat for me to have my dad along. This was his first fly-in trip ever. We had some good fishing, and hopefully we're going to be able to do lots more of this in the future. Well, I see the planes on the way in. We got to get back to the rest of the world. So until next time, I'm gone fishing.
Gone Fishing with Bob and TJ is brought to you by Ranger Boats, still building legends one at a time. Daiwa Rods and Reels, committed to total quality. Humminbird Wide, fish wide open. And Raider Fiberglass Truck Tops, today's value leader.